Michael Carter sat alone at his usual corner table in Rosie's cafe, staring into his cup of Earl Grey as if it might contain answers to questions he hadn't even formed yet. He didn't notice the elderly woman watching him from across the room, her eyes calculating behind wire-rimmed glasses. He couldn't have known that in exactly 7 minutes, she would approach his table and whisper 5 words that would shatter his world completely. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more emotional journeys that remind us how quickly life can change. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that touch hearts. The rain tapped gently against the cafe windows, creating a soothing rhythm that matched Michael's stirring spoon. 3 weeks had passed since Ellie's funeral, and he still couldn't process that his wife of 12 years was gone. Cancer. The word felt like acid in his mouth. How was he supposed to raise their 8-year-old daughter Sophie alone? The crushing weight of single parenthood pressed down on his shoulders, making even simple tasks like ordering tea feel monumental. Daddy drinks tea when he's sad, Sophie had observed that morning before school, her small face serious with concern. Are you going to be sad forever now? The memory made Michael's eyes sting. He'd forced a smile and promised her that no, he wouldn't be sad forever. But sitting here now, he wondered if he'd lied to his daughter. Rosie, the cafe owner, approached with a fresh pot. On the house, she said softly, refilling his cup. How's Sophie doing? Better than me, Michael admitted. Kids are resilient, right? That's what everyone keeps telling me. Rosie squeezed his shoulder. And so are you, even if it doesn't feel like it yet. As Rosie walked away, Michael noticed an elderly woman making her way toward his table. She moved deliberately, her cane tapping against the hardwood floor. Something about her seemed vaguely familiar, though he couldn't place her. Perhaps she was one of the many neighbors who had brought casseroles after Ellie died. Mr. Carter? The woman's voice was surprisingly strong for someone who appeared so frail. Yes? Michael straightened, automatically polite. The woman leaned down, her breath smelling of peppermint as she whispered, Your wife didn't die naturally. Michael froze, the teacup halfway to his lips. Excuse me? Cancer didn't kill Ellie, the woman continued, sliding into the chair opposite him without invitation. She was poisoned, slowly. And I know who did it. The cafe continued its gentle hum of activity around them, but for Michael, time stopped. His hands began to shake, tea sloshing over the rim of his cup. Who are you? He demanded, his voice barely audible. Margaret Winters. I was Ellie's patient for 3 years. The woman placed a weathered hand on the table. I'm a retired nurse. I recognized the symptoms. Someone was administering small doses of arsenic to your wife, Mr. Carter. The cancer diagnosis was a convenient cover. Michael's mind reeled. This couldn't be happening. Ellie had been diagnosed by multiple doctors. They had spent months in and out of hospitals. There had been chemotherapy, radiation, specialists. That's impossible, he said firmly. You're confused, or... Check her medical records, Margaret interrupted. Request a toxicology report. The hospital made a mistake, and someone took advantage of it. Why are you telling me this? Michael's grief was rapidly transforming into anger. What kind of person approaches a widower with this kind of? Because Sophie might be next, Margaret whispered, her eyes darting around the cafe. And I believe the person responsible is someone very close to you. The accusation hung in the air between them, monstrous and unthinkable. Michael wanted to shout at this woman, to throw her outrageous claims back in her face. But a tiny seed of doubt had been planted. Ellie's illness had progressed so quickly, defying the doctor's initial timeline. And there had been those strange symptoms that didn't quite align with her diagnosis. Who? The word escaped his lips before he could stop it. Margaret leaned closer. Your sister-in-law, Rebecca. She's been in love with you for years. Ellie knew it. They fought about it the week before Ellie first got sick. Michael's blood ran cold. Rebecca had moved in with them after Ellie died, to help with Sophie. She was in his house right now, picking Sophie up from school, making dinner, becoming the maternal figure in his daughter's life. "That's insane," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. There had been moments, glances, touches that lingered too long, comments that seemed inappropriate in retrospect. "Is it?" Margaret raised an eyebrow. "Check Ellie's journal. The blue one she kept in her nightstand. She wrote everything down." Michael stared at the woman, trying to process her words. "How could you possibly know about Ellie's journal?" Margaret stood, leaning heavily on her cane. "Because Ellie came to me, Mr. Carter. A week before she died, when she finally realized what was happening. She was too weak to do anything about it by then. She placed a small, folded piece of paper on the table. My number. Call me when you're ready to protect your daughter." With that, she shuffled toward the door, leaving Michael frozen in place, his tea growing cold. The drive home was a blur. Michael's mind raced with possibilities, each more horrifying than the last. Could there be any truth to Margaret's claims? Rebecca had always been close to their family. After Ellie's sister lost her husband in a car accident 5 years ago, they had welcomed her into their lives. Sophie adored her aunt. Michael had always appreciated her help, especially during Ellie's illness. But there had been moments. Small things he dismissed. The way Rebecca sometimes looked at him when she thought he wasn't watching. How she'd gradually taken over more and more household responsibilities, even before Ellie became bedridden. The strange tension between the sisters in the months before Ellie's diagnosis. Michael pulled into his driveway, his hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. Through the living room window, he could see Rebecca helping Sophie with homework at the kitchen table. They were laughing about something, heads bent together, Sophie's small hand in Rebecca's. The scene should have been comforting. Instead, it sent a chill down Michael's spine. He entered the house, forcing a smile. "Hey, there's my favorite girl." Sophie looked up, her face brightening. "Daddy. Aunt Becca is helping me with my science project. We're making a volcano." Rebecca turned, her smile warm. "You're home early. I was just about to start dinner. I thought we could have Ellie's lasagna recipe tonight." Michael studied her face, searching for any sign of deception, any hint of the monster Margaret had described. All he saw was the same Rebecca he'd known for years, kind, helpful, perhaps a bit too eager to please. "Sounds great," he managed. "Sophie, why don't you go wash up? I need to talk to Aunt Becca for a minute." Once Sophie had bounded upstairs, Rebecca began gathering the homework materials. "She's doing better, I think. She mentioned Ellie without crying today." Michael leaned against the counter, choosing his words carefully. "I ran into someone interesting at the cafe today. A former patient of Ellie's." "Margaret Winters?" The pencil in Rebecca's hand snapped. It was subtle, just a quick break, nothing dramatic, but Michael caught it. When Rebecca turned, her smile remained fixed, but something flickered behind her eyes. "Oh. I don't remember Ellie mentioning her." "Elderly woman. Said she was a retired nurse." Michael watched Rebecca closely. She had some unusual theories about Ellie's illness. Rebecca's laugh sounded forced. "What kind of theories?" "That it wasn't cancer that killed her." The room grew very still. Rebecca set down the broken pencil, her movements deliberate. "That's ridiculous. We all saw how sick she was. The doctors confirmed." "I know," Michael interrupted. "It was strange. She seemed so convinced." Rebecca approached him, placing a hand on his arm. "Michael, grief makes people say and believe crazy things. This woman probably meant well, but she's clearly confused. Her touch felt different now, charged with something he couldn't name. Had it always been this way? You're right, he said, stepping away casually. Anyway, I think I'll go check on Sophie. Of course. Rebecca's smile didn't reach her eyes. Dinner in 30 minutes. Michael climbed the stairs, his heart pounding. He needed to find Ellie's journal. If it even existed. If Margaret wasn't just a delusional old woman spinning dangerous fantasies. Sophie was in the bathroom, singing to herself as she washed her hands. Michael slipped into the master bedroom and went straight to Ellie's nightstand. The drawer stuck slightly as he pulled it open. Inside were the items he expected: reading glasses, hand cream, a novel with a bookmark still in place. But no blue journal. He searched the entire nightstand, then moved to the dresser, the closet, under the mattress. Nothing. Had Margaret been wrong? Or had someone already removed it? Daddy? What are you looking for? Michael turned to find Sophie watching him from the doorway, her hands still damp from washing. Just some papers Mommy had, he said, trying to sound casual. Do you remember Mommy writing in a blue book sometimes? Sophie's face lit up. Her special book. She used to write in it every night. Hope surged through Michael. Do you know where it is, sweetheart? Sophie nodded. Aunt Becca put it in the attic with Mommy's special things. She said it was too sad to keep downstairs. Michael's blood ran cold. When did she do that? After the funeral. She said we needed to put sad things away so we could be happy again. Sophie tilted her head. Are you mad? No, no, Michael assured her, forcing a smile. That was thoughtful of Aunt Becca. Hey, why don't you go help her with dinner? I need to check something in the attic. Once Sophie had gone, Michael pulled down the attic ladder and climbed up, flicking on the single bare bulb that illuminated the dusty space. Boxes of Ellie's belongings had been neatly stacked in one corner. He began searching through them, growing increasingly frantic as box after box revealed no journal. Finally, in the bottom of the third box, beneath Ellie's college yearbooks and old photo albums, he found it. A simple blue leather-bound journal, Ellie's initials embossed on the cover. His hands trembled as he opened it. The first entries were mundane, notes about Sophie's school activities, ideas for home renovations, reflections on books Ellie had read. But as Michael flipped forward, the tone changed. About 8 months before her diagnosis, Ellie had begun writing about Rebecca. R. touched M's shoulder again today. The way she looks at him when she thinks I'm not watching makes me uncomfortable. When I mentioned it, she laughed it off, said I was being paranoid. Michael's stomach clenched as he read entry after entry, documenting a growing tension between the sisters. Then, 3 months before Ellie's diagnosis. Confronted R. today. Told her I've noticed how she acts around him, and it needs to stop. She became defensive, then angry. Said terrible things, that M deserves better than me, that I don't appreciate him. When I asked her to move out, she broke down crying, apologized profusely. Said I misunderstood. I feel guilty now, but something doesn't feel right. 2 weeks later. Started feeling ill today. Extreme fatigue, stomach cramps. R. made soup, insisted on taking care of everything. M. thinks I'm working too hard. The entries continued, documenting Ellie's declining health, the initial doctor visits, the eventual cancer diagnosis. But scattered throughout were moments of suspicion. Strange metallic taste in my mouth constantly. Asked Dr. Chen about it, but he said it's normal with chemo. But I haven't started chemo yet. And later. R. brings me tea every morning. Always insists on making it herself. Started pouring it out when she leaves. Feel better on days when I don't drink it. The final entries were shaky, the handwriting deteriorating along with Ellie's health. The last one, dated just 5 days before her death, made Michael's blood freeze in his veins. Spoke with Margaret today. She recognized the symptoms. Says it's arsenic poisoning, not cancer progression. Too weak to tell M.R. Watches me constantly. Margaret will tell him after I'm gone. Pray she gets to him before R. hurts Sophie. M. won't believe it coming from me now, would think it's the medication or desperation. Need evidence. Margaret taking hair sample for testing. God help us all. Michael closed the journal, his mind reeling. It couldn't be true. And yet, Ellie's words, her suspicions, aligned perfectly with what Margaret had told him. The timing of Rebecca's arrival in their lives, the convenient way she had positioned herself to step into Ellie's role. The sound of footsteps on the attic ladder startled him. He quickly shoved the journal into his jacket pocket. Michael? Rebecca's head appeared at the top of the ladder. Dinner's ready. What are you doing up here? Just reminiscing, he said, gesturing to the boxes. Thinking about Ellie. Something shifted in Rebecca's expression, a momentary calculation that he might have missed if he hadn't been looking for it. You shouldn't torture yourself like this, she said softly. Ellie would want you to move forward. She climbed fully into the attic, moving toward him. We're all that's left now, Michael. You, me, and Sophie. We need to be strong for each other. Michael stood, keeping distance between them. You're right. Let's go down for dinner. Throughout the meal, Michael observed Rebecca with new eyes. The way she served Sophie's food first, then his. How she watched to make sure they both ate. The tea she'd prepared for him, which he left untouched. Aren't you going to drink your tea, Daddy? Sophie asked. Aunt Becca makes it special for you. I'm not thirsty, sweetheart, Michael said, noticing how Rebecca's eyes narrowed slightly. You always have tea with dinner, Rebecca said lightly. It helps you sleep. I've been sleeping fine lately, Michael lied. After dinner, while Rebecca helped Sophie with her bath, Michael slipped into the kitchen and collected samples, tea from the pot Rebecca had made, sugar from the bowl she kept separate, just for him, honey from the jar she insisted was higher quality than what she and Sophie used. He needed proof beyond Ellie's suspicions. He needed certainty before he could act. The piece of paper Margaret had given him burned in his pocket. He would call her tonight, after Sophie was asleep, after Rebecca had retired to the guest room. But first, he needed to ensure Sophie's safety. Hey, princess, he said when she emerged from the bathroom in her pajamas. How would you like to have a special daddy-daughter sleepover in my room tonight? Sophie's face lit up. With popcorn and movies? Absolutely, Michael promised, aware of Rebecca watching from the hallway. That sounds fun, Rebecca said, her voice carefully neutral. But Sophie has school tomorrow. Don't keep her up too late. We'll be responsible, Michael assured her, meeting her gaze steadily. That night, with Sophie curled against him, finally asleep after 2 Disney movies, Michael called Margaret Winters. You found the journal, she said when she answered, not bothering with hello. Yes, Michael whispered. But I need more than suspicions. I need proof. I have it, Margaret replied. The hair sample Ellie gave me showed elevated arsenic levels. I have a friend at the medical examiner's office. We can request Ellie's body be tested. And in the meantime? Sophie. Don't let Rebecca prepare any food or drinks for either of you, Margaret interrupted. Not even water. Nothing. Meet me tomorrow at Rosie's café. Bring the journal and any samples you've collected. My friend will test them. After hanging up, Michael lay awake for hours, listening to Sophie's steady breathing, his mind racing with plans and fears. How had he not seen it? How had he invited this danger into their home, into their lives? Morning brought new challenges. Rebecca was already in the kitchen when Michael came downstairs, Sophie still asleep upstairs. Coffee? Rebecca offered, holding out a mug. I'll make my own today, Michael said, moving toward the coffee maker. Thought I'd try a different brewing method. Rebecca's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. Suit yourself. I'm making Sophie's favorite pancakes for breakfast. Actually, Michael said, thinking quickly, I thought I'd take Sophie out for breakfast. Father-daughter time. We haven't had much of that lately.